when you look at Justin Cox, we had at camp, lightning fast, really, really fast. And I think everybody saw that today. I mean, any player that plays quarterback to lead his team to two state championships is a pretty good football player. We had him at camp, ran great times for us. Josh Robinson, the same way, ran one of the fastest times we had at any of our camps this year. Josh did it as a pretty stout running back. Derek Milton came in the same way. So I think we've added some speed at those skill positions. And Darius Slay is a guy that we had recruited a couple years ago. And, a very dynamic player in the return game, played a lot in the secondary this year. I think people don't get to see him do a lot because I think people stayed away from him up at ICC this year. But if you do look at Darius and what we're excited about, there's a young man that signed with us, has followed through, done his work, is coming back to the program, very excited about us, and the success we've had with junior college players. Every junior college player that we've signed has come in and contributed to the program in the last 2 years, and that's critical when you're going to recruit those guys.
You had 6 guys decommit over the past month. I mean, how much does that hurt, especially with a lot of them being kind of in-state guys?
Well, as you can see with the numbers, not really, because we really didn't have spots for everybody. So we were going to have to balance out the numbers in the end. I guess a commitment in my mind, and maybe the media's mind, is very different. A commitment in my mind is someone that's coming to Mississippi State and not taking a visit. If you're visiting other places, I never considered you committed in the first place. So I really didn't have any decommits. So the way I view it, because the guys that were visiting, I don't really view them as being committed to our program, and that's how I view recruiting. I guess we don't talk about it. We're not allowed to comment on it, so that's all up to your guys' interpretation of the internet and all that stuff, and how you all want to see it. I view it as a guy that's committed as someone that is, I'm coming to Mississippi State, that's it, that's where I'm going, I'm not taking any other visits, that's where I want to be at school, hold my spot for you. If you look at how the other numbers, if they're taking visits, I don't really count.
I know you like the redshirt guys, I think the redshirt at 18. You think that kind of makes some of those guys wary that maybe decided to decommit?
No, I think, if guys are nervous of competition, I certainly don't want them on our roster. Because every day in our program you have to compete in everything that we do. And I think that's what helps you win. That's what helps you win. I mean, competition is there's no shortcut to the top of the mountain. You're going to get there. You're going to get there through a lot of hard work, and on the football field you got to compete. So I don't think so. It just shows we had some pretty solid depth last year, and I think I look at this group. There's a lot of guys that could come in and contribute of this freshman class right away. And when you play in the SEC, we're going to make sure they're ready to get on the field before we put them on the field. But having more guys come in mid-semester certainly helps and gives them an opportunity to get on the field early.
Coach, the last couple of years you talked about getting to that point where you're recruiting across the board and be a balanced class. Are you closer to that point, and what point of emphasis do you see for the 2012 class?
Yeah, the same way. I mean, you're always keeping the balance in your numbers, and you try to look not just 1 but 2 years out to make sure that if you have a bunch of guys leading at a position, that you are going to be balanced. I think you look at a guy like Joey Trapp coming in this year as taking a junior college offensive line, and there is a little bit of a gap in there. We had a bunch of older guys and a bunch of younger guys, and we needed some more in-between guys. And so he comes in to fill that, and that's really how we evaluate it each year. You love to get to the point where you have kind of a senior at every position across the board, and you go out and sign one player at each one of those positions, and that keeps your balance in the program. It never works out that way, but you'd like to keep it that way instead of having, 2 years ago we had 3 senior tailbacks. That's a little scary in the balance point of the running back position, have 3 guys that play the same position walk out the door. You'd like to keep it a little more balanced from year to year. It's such a long way away until then, and in my mind right now, we've already started. We had a meeting this morning going through our 2012 recruiting board. And for us, we're going to recruit every position again, and just to make sure that we have depth at each position that we're recruiting.
You mentioned the terms the media uses, commitments, soft verbal, whatever. Do you have any idea of what we should maybe start calling commitments?
Is there a reservation? Right? I mean, if you make a reservation to a restaurant, they don't hold you to getting there right there. You know, they call up and say, "Can you reserve me a spot right there?" And that's better than it. But you know, but some kids are. Some kids are committed. You know, and that's what's always kind of makes it tough. And I think recruiting's taken on a life of its own in the perception of it, as opposed to the reality of the situation. And I think that's kind of where things change. I know fans and internet sites, and I know it's big business, and a lot of people online at all times looking at things and trying to figure out what's going on. And I think I have a much better idea. We just, you know, NCAA rules, we don't comment on them. I'd probably give you all the answers to what's going to happen well before you know what's going to happen on signing.
I know last year you said you wanted to have a better recruiting class this year compared to last year. Do you feel like you did that despite what the rankings might show right now?
Yeah. You know, I don't know what the rankings show. So what do they show?
About 42, 43, maybe.
Yeah, I'll take that. I did read an article today that Wisconsin's never been over 40. I'll take a Rose Bowl trip to TCU. Both Wisconsin and TCU, I don't think we're ever over 40 in the last 4 or 5 years recruiting. And so I think that maybe that's a good number to be right around there. That gets you to the Rose Bowl. But you know, I don't pay much attention to that because to me, the program's about development. Like I said, I mean, when you look, if we have 47 of 53 players in the last 2 years we signed still contributing to our program right now, that's a pretty good number. You know, especially, I guess, 48 if you had Darius Slay in there. You know, 48 of 53. We'll take those odds. That's the evaluation. That's the development of the program. And I guess if not, then 4 years ago, whoever was ranked number 1 and 2 in recruiting should have just played for the BCS championship. And I don't think either of those teams played in it this year. So I don't put a whole lot of weight into any of the rankings. I put it into making sure we're getting players that we know we can develop to become, whatever the stars, not just in February coming out of high school. They don't stick with you. I think, you know, I mean, when you go out in the field, they don't stay with you. You don't get an extra first down because you get stars next to your name. You have to go earn those on the field. And, so for us, we look for those guys that I'm more concerned of our recruiting rankings, I guess, and our player per performance on Saturdays in the fall over the next 4 years for this recruiting class. We'll define how good a class they are or not.